Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for September 19th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a good evening, a nice rest, and ready for another wild and crazy day in the market. But today it's Friday. We don't have a whole lot of economic or earnings data to move the market. Could be kind of an interesting day. So, how about we take a look at what happened overnight to get started here today? If we take a look at Asian markets last night, well, we had a bit of a mix in there. The Nikkei rallied pretty substantially last night. We had Australia. Let's start with Australia here. We had Australia at 28.30, 0.32%. Hong Kong only made 25-cent gain last night. Flat on the percentage. South Korea was down $16.06 at 0.46%. Oh, I'm sorry. The Nikkei was the one that moved pretty sharply lower, down 257.62. Still holding on to that 45,000 record high, however, 0.57% lower. India was lower by 96.55 or 0.38%, and Shanghai fell by $11.56 or 0.30%. If we take a look at what happened or what's happening in Europe this morning, we've got the DAX this morning down 46.03 or 0.19% lower. FTSE, however, has made it back into the green. It was down just earlier, but modestly down 0.62 cents or 0.01% higher. We've got the CAC coming in at $19.44, 0.25% higher this morning. Let's take a look at what we've got going on here in U.S. futures. U.S. futures are slightly lower here this morning, but they are rising at the moment. We're down 28 points. We've been down about 50 points since I've been up this morning. We've got S&P 500 futures at the moment up $1, and NASDAQ futures coming in up $17.75 this morning. Let's take a look at what's going on in those bonds. Well, we've got bonds moving up a little bit here this morning. The 2-year bond coming in at 3.57%. That's holding steady with last night or at the close. But we've got the 10-year moving up. Right now, the 10-year is at 4.12%. And that 30-year continuing to creep higher at 4.74% this morning. Taking a look at how that is affecting our dollar. Take a look at the dollar here, and it is still trying to rally to the upside. You can see we're moving up. So a reversal on Wednesday, and then we've been moving back up here in that chart, trying to move up to challenge this downtrend and see if we can deal with all the price resistance that we have in this chart. So watch that carefully. Right now, the dollar is up 22 cents here this morning. So watch that closely as those bonds rally back higher. Now, as a result, usually we would see gold moving lower this morning. That's not the case right now. Gold futures at the moment up $9.90 an ounce, $3,688.40 an ounce. It has been a little bit higher so far this morning, though. So we've pulled back just a tiny little bit from the highs of the morning. Silver is also moving higher after reversing yesterday to push back up and gain a little tiny bit. Right now we have silver futures up 36 cents at 44.48 an ounce, pushing back up into that gap down here of a couple of days ago. So watch that carefully. Copper this morning, we've got copper just slightly lower by 0.2 of a cent, but really in a very, very bullish pattern on the COPX mining stock in here. Beautiful little resting pattern back here toward support and trend. I would be watching for that opportunity that could push on up. Let's take a look at Freeport here. Yeah, Freeport's still holding on a support level. It has slipped past its trend, but still has that bullish aspect in here. If we draw, oh, dumb thing changed on me here. If we were to draw a trend on this, you can see we've got that trend right in here. So it's right in that zone where if we can get a little bullishness, it might be about ready to take off there on FCX. Let's take a quick look at what's going on in platinum. Well, platinum ETF in here, as you can see, is down. Well, actually it's showing it's up here, even though platinum futures are down. We've got $7.60 an ounce lower, or 0.54% this morning in platinum. And if we take a look at palladium, palladium is also just modestly lower, down $14.60 an ounce this morning. So keep an eye on those today as well. Let's take a look at how cryptos are acting with the dollar rising. Yesterday, cryptos had a pretty good day to the upside, but they are pulling back this morning. We've got Bitcoin at the moment down $894.12 a coin, or 0.76% lower. Still holding in this beautiful little upside reversal trend here and holding some support. So don't think that's any major worry here at the moment on IBIT. Ether is also holding in that bullish upside pattern, trying to knock on the door of this resistance up here, but this morning down 62.45 and that coin, 1.36%. And we've got Solana also, after gapping up and leaving a shooting star up there, gapping back down. We might see if it can fill that gap, but certainly still holding a very strong upside trend at the moment. Down $5.89 a coin, or 2.37% here this morning. So what's happening in oil? Well, if we take a look at USO, we're pulling back in oil again here today. We've got oil futures at the moment down 57 cents, coming in at 62.67 a barrel. Brent crude is also lower this morning at 66.91 a barrel. Natural gas continuing to fall, breaking this little upside trend that we had moving in here. At least at the moment, down about just over 2 cents here in natural gas. We'll see, maybe it can catch some support in here and bounce, but yeah, starting to look a little bit weak here again on natural gas. So nothing major happening there. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. So try to shake off that bias here just a little bit, and let's focus in on the price action. First off, if we take a look at the diamonds in here, pretty hard to see any bearishness in this chart when we made new record highs yesterday. continuing to hold this bullish trend, bullish patterns here to the upside. So blue sky above, there's no resistance above here in the Dow. Had an awful lot of whipsawing in here yesterday. Started out first thing in the morning when we were up over 350 points in the futures, and by the time we opened, we were about 60, 70 points up in the futures, and then actually went negative for a little while, whipsawed back up, and then just whipsawed back and forth all day yesterday. End of the day, we got that nice little rally back up, but you can see this morning just a little bit of hesitation here today. We'll have to watch this pretty closely. Every reason to believe if the bulls can find some inspiration here in the market, we could push on up and retest this resistance up here and maybe even hold those new record highs. If, however, those bears were to have anything to say, pushing back in this chart, I don't think we have any kind of major worry unless we were to break below that little area of price support. That would raise a little bit of concern. We might see, if that were to occur, we might see quite a few folks kind of running to take some profits here in the market, but watch that closely here. So far, we don't have a whole lot of data to go on today, so it might be a lot of political stuff, the news cycle that provides us the inspiration, and that can sometimes move us pretty substantially, either up, down, or we might just spend the day chopping sideways. If we take a look at the SPY, SPY also pushing up new record highs yesterday, but at the moment, not quite able to hang on to that, even though we are trying to push back up. So watch that carefully in here. If the bulls can find inspiration, every reason to believe they could, breaking back through up here, we could set new record highs again in the market. It's just been nonstop setting new record highs, so every reason to believe that is a possibility. Blue sky above that in the chart. Now, if the bears were to have anything to say and pushing this down through here, that would raise a little bit of concern, but I don't think it would get too squirrely in here until we broke below the low of that candle. If we broke down into there would be a little bit of concern coming up in the market that maybe we've pushed this rally just a little bit too hard. If we take a look at our QQQ, now QQQ very much the same, new record highs yesterday, and it doesn't seem to be suffering anything this morning. So just got to pop this little area up here. We could do that before the open easily and make new record highs in the QQQ. It's all about the big tech giants right now, and they just continue to power higher. So watch that carefully in here. If the bears were to have anything to say, then I think we could fall into this gap. Falling into this gap could move us pretty quickly down to fill that gap area here in the chart. And then if we progressed on further, coming back down into this area of price support. Now that area of price support runs back over here a ways. Now if you were to really get serious in here, and the bears were to push down and break that big tail in here that we put in on Wednesday, that's where some concern would come in. We've got another good area of price support in there. If we came down into there and bounced, probably no major worry, but breaking down below there would probably raise some serious concerns in the market. Maybe just a little bit of an overbought situation. If we take a look at our IWM, old IWM continued to stretch yesterday. We got new record highs in the Russell. They have been struggling and trying to get there for so long, finally catching up with the rest of the indexes, catching those new record highs. Any little rest or pullback in here would set up that next opportunity to enter in here. So every reason to believe that if the bulls can continue to find inspiration, we might continue to stretch this higher here. Pulling back in there, we'd have to pull back really hard in IWM to raise some concerns. Of course, we could put in more of a piercing pattern in here, something like that, that adds a little bit of concern to it. But we'd have to break back down through the low of that candle, I think, to create any major concern. And we would probably have to drop below this area here to really raise some concern in the market. So keep an eye on the Russell, still looking good, and powering on higher. If we take a look at our VIX here this morning, now what's interesting yesterday is our VIX, well, it was rallying. As we were making new record highs in the SPY and the QQQ, well, and IWM, we saw this VIX reverse and start showing a little bit of fear here in the market. So we did make a new drop down here and retested that low and then reversed off of that. So we still have that opportunity in here that we could make a higher low here in the VIX, and that might raise some concern here if that were the case. You know, when we're making record highs and our VIX is moving up, showing some fear, it may be just nothing more than an acknowledgement that we may have just kind of pushed too far too fast to the upside, and we need a little bit of rest. So if the bears were to have something to say today and we were to follow through to the upside in here, I don't think it's too much to worry about unless we break out of that downtrend. If we were to pop up through there, stretching up toward this area of price resistance, might see a little bit of concern in the market as that VIX expands. But at the same time, if the bears don't have any energy, and they haven't had any energy for a long time, if they have no energy, we might just drift this right on back down and retest these lows down here if that fear doesn't come into the market. If we take a look at our T2122, we had a good rally in this yesterday on T2122, and if we take a look in here, if the bulls can find inspiration today, well, we've certainly got some upside opportunity for them. We moved back up pretty substantially yesterday. So pushing back up into here, we'd be in that bearish reversal zone and probably an overbought situation. If the bears have anything to say, you just want to keep in mind, we've got a big downside opportunity for them to push if they find any reason to do so. And the lack of economic or earnings news today, puts us in that situation where anything could be possible here. If we take a look at our T2108, well, T2108 rallied nicely yesterday. Unfortunately, we've kind of, in T2108, broke this little upside trend. We did make a new low in here in that chart. So as we rally back up, it's going to be pretty critical here for us to resume an upside trend that this holds up in this area. So watch that up, these recent highs, see if we can push up through there, get up through that 60% area. Certainly believe that's possible. If we can, then maybe we can start stretching up towards 65 and 70% in T2108. I will warn you, once we reach up into that zone, we're in a pretty frothy area, and you can see for the last couple of years we've found a way to pull back from that level. Now, if the bears were to really get going and get something coming into the downside, we've got some support down here around 50% of the stocks holding above their 40. As long as we are in that range, I don't think there's any major concern. It would be if we break on down below there, we might have a little bit of concern. Pretty much the same thing here in T2107. Nice little rally, but honestly, this has held up better. Yeah, as you can see, we didn't take out those lows. We've still got that upside trend going on in here, and if those bulls can continue to push, we're just a hairbreadth away from breaking back above 55% here in that chart and maybe start pushing back up toward 60%. Now, I will tell you, sit between 60 and 65%. We're in that real frothy zone on T2107. We tend to pull back from that area. But watch that carefully. I think that's still a possibility here. If the bears were to have anything to say, you'll notice we've got some really good price support in here, down around 50%. So So no major worry probably unless we break below that. The real concern in the market continues to be unbelievably divergent from the overall market is the breadth. T2101, the breadth of the market, continued to fall yesterday. We had a minor pop up, but you can see we are extremely weak in our breadth. Now, part of this is the fact that we've got the market slipping into blackout period here. That's where they can't do corporate buybacks or anything to manipulate price in a stock. And so they're in that blackout period, and that's really got the institutions and folks maybe standing on the sideline. Retail continues to be very exuberant about this market and pushing hard. But this right here would suggest a big move could be coming at any time. I thought we would get that big move on Wednesday, and we did have some pretty good moves and some big whipsaws yesterday. But when we are like this, we can have big potential moves come into the market. They can be both to the upside or to the downside, depending on where that news might take us. But watch this closely. If we take a look, I'm just going to take it off the that we popped up here with a little bit of enthusiasm yesterday, and boy, it just dropped right out of the market. So breadth is very, very weak here in the market, and we should be watching for that potential of some kind of whipsaw or some kind of big move coming in the market. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here our economic calendar. You can see in here today just really not much to inspire the market. Now, we could see quite a little bit of volatility in here as institutions and things like that change out their positions. You know, we've got that quadruple which can often bring in considerable volatility in the market. You can see a lot of option rolls and hedging changes that can happen. So watch that carefully. Wouldn't be surprised to see kind of a choppy, unusual price action condition here today with that going on. Doesn't always happen, but it's something you want to pay attention to. And then after that, all we've got is a Baker Hughes rig count, and daily will be speaking here toward the end of the day. I doubt that really moves the market much. So watch that carefully here. Pretty light day. As we look at our earnings calendar, well, there isn't anything to worry about there either. We have no notables today. The only report that I have at all is MNY will be reporting this morning. A very small cap in here. Just doesn't trade a whole lot of volume as a general rule, and only a couple of bucks. And that's the only notable, or not even a notable, it's the only one that is reporting today. So kind of keep that in mind unless they add something later, and sometimes these small caps will add something later, but not much going on the earnings calendar to provide inspiration either. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. If you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leaving a brief comment, that helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who takes the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. I did finally get to most of those comments, but it was kind of late in the day yesterday, and today could be a little bit of the same. I'm covering a couple of trading rooms today, so I will be kind of busy. Hey guys, speaking of trading rooms, I want you to know that we've had this $7 special on for quite a while, and I'm just letting everyone know that probably by the end of this month, the $7 special is going away, and it's not going to come back. So if you have an interest, if you would like to be check out Right Way Options, be part of that for a full 30 days for $7. It's going to be your last chance. So make sure you check that out. The only reason it's not changed right now is it requires some work to get all the website stuff and everything changed out, do all that back end work, and it doesn't happen immediately. So you've got a little bit of a chance to still get that. Otherwise, it's gone in $7. Trust me on this. It's not coming back. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me, we've already done that. Remember now that these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence here in the market and be very, very careful with that low breadth environment that we're trading in right now. So first off, let's talk a little bit about some of the big financials here. If we look at XLF, as long as we don't slip into a recession, which some people are talking about, banks tend to do a pretty good amount of business on those lowering rates. So you can see in here in XLF, we had that nice little rally on Wednesday, tried to break through on Thursday, pulled back. We're still resting in this little consolidating area in here, trying to figure out if we can go on higher. Watch that carefully here, but I got to tell you, there are some really good stocks out there in that sector. Take a look at Goldman continuing to run to the upside. I'd keep a close eye on that. We've got Bank of America broke out here, continuing to stretch. I think any rest, consolidation, or pullback somewhere along this trend in here could provide the next opportunity. Watch that carefully in BAC. We've got Citibank having a really good week here, continuing to stretch to the upside. JP Morgan stretching to the upside. So keep an eye on those. They're all looking pretty darn good at the moment. Let's take a look at a few other things in here and what is moving them around. First off, guys, I would keep an eye on these miners. When you take a look at GDX is looking good. If we start seeing gold moving back up, keep an eye on these. Gold miners have been extremely strong, and looks like they may have that opportunity to continue to remain strong. Even when gold was falling yesterday, we saw Barrick Gold continuing to rally pretty strongly. So keep an eye on some of those gold miners. They are looking really good. Gold and silver miners, copper miners. You can even take a look at Alcoa. Alcoa's been making some move here on the aluminum side of things. Nice little pop through resistance, resting back. Watch for that next opportunity there, picking up and looking pretty decent in those charts. On the big tech side of things, I think it's a good idea to keep an eye here on Tesla. Tesla's up here banging its head against this door, trying to see if it can pop through. I think it probably needs a little bit of rest, and yesterday showing a little bit of a dark cloud cover in here might be telling us we need a little bit more consolidation or a little bit of pullback. But I do think it's worth keeping an eye on. This thing has really been defying all the analysts. They're all down on Elon Musk and just pounding with bad news. But at the same time, boy, it still seems to perform pretty darn well. So watch that carefully in here. It may have to rest a little bit more, but then watch for that opportunity that it may pop on through there in Tesla. Sure, liking the way CAT is performing here. Big stretch yesterday. Now, I wouldn't chase this, but I think any rest or pullback now after breaking out to all-time highs here, we could see a little rest, little consolidation, and the next opportunity for that to push on higher. Cummins, heavy equipment seems to be doing pretty well. Cummins had a really good day yesterday as well. Any rest or pullback in here, I think, gives you an opportunity to maybe get on board here in Cummins, worth paying attention to. So watch that closely. If we take a look at some of the other areas of the market, I've been mentioning General Dynamics, and General Dynamics had a little bit of a pullback in there yesterday, bounced back up. So I still think it's worth paying attention to here in General Dynamics. Keep an eye on that. RTX continuing to set up in this bullish pattern. Nice little bull flag setting up in here after reclaiming some support. So watch that if that can find that bullish energy to push on through there on RTX, worth paying attention to. Lockheed Martin also been moving in this nice little upside trend. Gap down on earnings and has been pretty much a buy ever since, pushing back up. So you can see this nice little resting pattern in here starting to develop, and look for that next opportunity for Lockheed to maybe move on higher, picking back up. Along with some of those big banks, we are seeing some stocks making some moves out of bottoms here. PayPal popped up here yesterday, tagged this resistance in the chart and pulled back. I would watch this kind of closely though. If we can break out from underneath this downtrend, and probably more important, break out of this consolidating pattern in here, pop above here, I think there's some upside potential. And even if that just kind of rests in here against that resistance, as long as it holds onto that little higher low, we might find that energy eventually to pop on through. Keep an eye on that. XYZ block here is something that I am holding longer term. Now, if you take a look at a weekly chart in here, that's really setting up nicely on a weekly potential move. If you want more of a longer term trade, watch this. May have that opportunity to move on higher. On the daily, it's still got a little bit of work to do, so there's no rush on that, but keep an eye on it. Some of these are starting to come back around to the upside. Take a look at American Express. Wow, nice push here in American Express, breaking through resistance. Good stretch following through yesterday. Keep an eye on that. They're still looking pretty darn good overall. Been seeing Cleveland Cliffs as an interesting trade. Now, Cleveland Cliffs pushed down yesterday, tested support, hammering in here, trying to push back off of that to the upside. Now, particularly if the dollar falls, I would be watching this. If the dollar pulls back, commodities will tend to go higher. So watch that closely here in Cleveland. Maybe that can push on through. We've got Steel Dynamics making a move here yesterday, popping that resistance, ended up settling back down just below that. But you can see this would be a big breakout here in Steel Dynamics, breaking out of this basing pattern in here. We might be able to find a way for that to push on up here in the chart, worth paying attention to. Keep an eye on Wynn Casinos. Wynn, this is another pattern that we've identified and been talking about in RWO. Nice little resting pullback in here. Wynn finding that energy in here to push on through to the upside. I'd keep an eye on Home Depot. This little resting pullback into trend and support. Watch for that opportunity for that to push on higher. There's lows that could still be setting up in that pattern, worth paying attention to. For solar, finally making that move out of that pop. I've talked about this many times, but finally making that move out of there. All we need is a little bit extra bullishness in here, and we might pop right on through there on First Solar, worth paying attention to. I think Roblex is still worth watching. Been kind of slow and grinding in here, but all we need is that little bit of bullish push, and we're coming back toward that trend. Just look for those buyers maybe to step up in there on Roblex. And also TJ Maxx still looking very good in there, worth paying attention to. If we get a little bit of a bullish push, that might just push right on through to the upside. So there's a bunch of stocks. Obviously, I have run this video just a little bit long covering all of that. Just remember, guys, breadth is really low. We could whipsaw pretty easily on any move. We might just kind of be in a hurry up and wait for next week kind of pattern as well. So just be careful. Don't chase overextended stocks. Try to avoid that. Be a little bit more patient. And you know, one of the great things about being a trader is you are the boss and you are the CEO. It's okay if there's not much happening in here. Shut off your computer and go enjoy your life. Sometimes the market just needs to rest. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all the very best. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great Friday and a wonderful weekend. I'll see you right back here bright and early Monday morning. Take care, everyone.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.